Very good morning for everybody. Nice to see you. So, we can start? Yeah. Okay. So again, very good morning. My name is Miroslav Jarosz. I'm rector of this university. So welcome to the final meeting, the panel discussion of the High Sensitivity Week. A common theme is supporting of mental resilience of children. Today we have the opportunity to listen to the experts from various fields, specialties, and from different countries. I cordially welcome the speakers from the University of Alicante, Spain, from the city of Rome, of course Italy, from the Association of Psychologists Expert SAI from Romania, from the Piros Competence AS in Norway, and from the Association of Portuguese Startups Portugal. The aim of today's discussion is to present the issue of the high sensitivity in the context of different areas and different human activities. I'm sure that each of the experts will bring closer their national experience concerning the use of knowledge, the state of art about the high sensitivity in different cultural contexts. The direction of action, I mean the use of knowledge, the practice, system solution, will be discussed today. At the end of this meeting, there will be some time for open discussion. So experts, I hope, will try to answer some questions addressed by the audience. I wish you all a very fruitful time during this final meeting. Thank you for being with us. This is the last day of this event, but I do hope that we will meet in the future. Thank you for your attention. Have a good day today.
Okay, thank you very much. That was very nice from the head of our university to welcome everybody. Thank you very much once again. And we will start with the first presentation with Maria Fabiani from Metropolitan City of Rome. So we will start with the state of art in Italy.
So good morning to everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here. And I would like, first of all, to thank the University of Economics and Innovation in Lublin to host this event and to initiate this program. Because actually now it's not a project any longer, it's really a program. And to have engaged such a different kind of organization. So cities, metropolitan cities, university, grassroots organization, and so on. Because I think that this will be also the future of education as an academic teacher. My presentation will focus on sensitive career management because one of the main competencies of the Metropolitan City of Rome is actually to manage the vocational education and to promote at a metropolitan level and in Rome, for more than 4 million inhabitants, connection between vocational education at basic level and higher level, and business and the people well-being. And we are very committed in apprenticeship program connecting university and business in our cities, and we hope to have future collaboration in this sense with Lublin and the University of Lublin. So what about career management? What are the main concepts? The career management concept changed in recently not so recently, but anyway, changed. And now career are constructed. So there is a lot of effort from the person to construct his or her career, and it does not relate only with job, but with job and life, and how job is a part of his or her life. And a concept which is raising more and more attention also in the policy documents of the European Commission and of the practitioner as well are career management skills. And what are career management skills and why they matter? Actually, career management skills, oh yeah, this is a photo. This is me in the 80s. And just a little break. Well, actually, today I'm here as an academic teacher, as consultant, as a national expert at the European Commission for the Education and Employment. So I have different hats. And when I was in my 20s, I never thought that I would have all these different hats. This is what I mean for career construction, career management skills. I just enjoyed my life with my best friend. And this is also a career management skills. I have a friend since I was 3 years old. So this is a very good friend. So the paradigm change in career management and in career management skills, that we have to shift from test and tell what you have to do, from explore who you are, what you want, how you want to reach your targets, and learn. Learn how to do this in the way it's the best way for you. And it's very important in this context, the career management skills framework. We have different frameworks, and what is really relevant that is that they are evidence-based, which is quite not not very often occurs in the career management field. So they articulate what career management skills are. They create a common language among professionals and also among different experts when we talk about high sensitivity, because there are experts who are not experts in career management, but are experts of career sensitivity, and support the cooperation between the different experts and stakeholders. And this is very relevant because we cannot succeed alone. We need to network. And which are the elements which really may be helpful in supporting career management, in making possible for a highly sensitive person to develop career management skills. Here you can see learning areas, level, and context, because context is very important. Learning models, resource, delivery approach, community of practice, and policy, because policy should change. And so what should we focus on? Self, so understanding your trait, who you are, and own who you are, your trait, your personality, interests, and values, because it's really a key to make career decision, or at least a career decision which make you happier. Strength, so know what what are your strengths as a high sensitivity person, but also what are your talents. And be aware that not all high sensitivity persons are the same. Like not all introverts are the same. And horizon. This means also explore the world of work, of course, but also training, learning, and resource for high sensitive persons. And network. Because yesterday I was very impressed by one of Monica's presentations, because she really pointed out how important are networks, how important are the resources around that. And what is also good of this career management skills framework, that they give professional and also to the person a lifelong career learning curriculum. So, and this curriculum will be developed as a subject-based curricula at school or at university, like it is in some countries. For example, I know in like the work-based learning and development framework in the company, but also at the university, also in apprenticeship program in dual learning, which is getting the new buzzword also at academic level. But it also gives us a tool for this career learning path, but also gives a framework, a tool for high sensitive people to take action. And to also develop plans. So with what are my what are not only what the results of the evidence-based information, but also of the talks I have. I had the opportunity to have with some HR and counselor in the frame of the promotion project in the last week. So self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship management, and actually there are most emotional intelligence. Is it right? But also leadership. I was quite impressed because highly sensitive people, also in different positions, told me leadership. And I will ask you to explore, because you have more contact skills. And so they ask for resource and activities which make possible for them to take action they need and also maintain a balance. But career management skills and the related framework is also a tool for designing sensitive career learning for HR, for vet counselor, for all the career guidance community. And what are their requests? You can read here, so they don't know anything about high sensitivity traits. And they make a lot of confusion. They are not sure if the tools they have to assess that the direction they work is the right tools. And how to develop activities for building high sensitivity person capability to for career management. And what I try to do is to link to possible learning block, but it's only just a reflection. So, just a moment. Today, I had a small notes because I think it was important. This was the last interview. Say, oh well, I need understanding how to assess the sensitivity trait in my staff. I need to identify common mistakes, condition, and characteristic. I need to understand the neurological process of sensory processes sensitive. Because at international, Italian level, but also at international level, because two of the people general organization and people manager for a multinational, they say, well, we are using a lot neurodiversity management and things, stuff like that. So we are skilled, but we have not been trained on high sensitivity. So it's a missing field of knowledge, and they would like to have knowledge and tools. And how to identify high sensitive people common challenge and needs. And they say, well, according to our experience, we need multiple methods and tools. And it's up to us to identify to us with our clients or with our staff to tool that stimulates positive change in their well-being. So these are what they told me. So just to conclude, one way of explaining the concept of resilience is to imagine a plane encountering a turbulent flight. I hope it will not happen in few hours when I will fly to Rome. Anyway, the turbulence represents adversity, and we all have to face adversity, if we are high sensitive or not. Pilots, Monica, as you told us, so the family, the teacher, but the counselor, the HR, the coach, the employer, the type of plane, so the individual characteristic of high sensitivity, but also the equipment available to the pilots, the co-pilots, and the ground crew. And of course, the severity of the turbulence, because we can do only what is our best. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maria. I hope that we learn a bit how the high sensitivity can be useful. Knowledge about high sensitivity can be useful for all of us in the future in our career development. And our next speaker is Monica Barrewa Mataychuk, our key researcher in all this initiative of high sensitivity, which has been taking place in our university since 3 years now.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Maria. That was really inspiring, and I think that a lot of things that we discussed last 3 days start to be very important, and even more than we start work on it. So I would like to introduce some state of art. How does the high sensitivity subject, topic, but in general high sensitivity individuals. So we're going to talk about environmental sensitivity, the state of art in Poland. So I will start with our national experience. From the level of science, because that's my first job being researcher, there are still a few published studies, few researchers, few research units dealing with the topic of high sensitivity, which means that in our Polish background, there is still a big gap about the their MA dissertation, bachelor dissertation, they papers on high sensitivity. So I've got a lot of emails from universities from all over the Poland with asking about the tools, asking about well-prepared scales, questionnaires, with information about the psychometrical properties of them. So sensitivity measurement tools with satisfactory psychometrical properties are available. Our last 5 years of research, adolescent research, young adult, children show us that we have a huge potential to prepare really good tools to support us, and not only in research, but also in everyday practice work. So here we are in a practice that activities that are proposed mainly by people who publish them on their blog, on their website, personal web, largely on the intuitive knowledge. So they knew something, they would like to know more, they use their own experience, but as Maria said, there are no two the same highly sensitive people. That's why some of those subjective discovers are not very useful for all of us. So no specific changes proposed by the educational development centers, at the ministry, so on. But we have a lot of interest in the guide organs. We have a lot of directors from preschools, schools. We have a lot of people who would like to change something at the educational system to support highly sensitive children and properly understand their trait. Not treat it as a disorder or something to support as a specific way, like with the disorders are, but also to understand the support by preparing the proper environment when everyone have an opportunity to use the resources. In the area of career counseling and career design, we have knowledge only from the level of company strategies. So it means that some companies are sharing their own idea, their own way, their own solution, like a good practice, how to support employees, how to help them to find some balance between work and personal life and find this very high or satisfactory level of professional well-being. So no general knowledge suited to the environment. So what about actions? Due to interest in the issue and based on the research result, there are need to spread knowledge about high sensitivity and use it in practice. So that's the point. That's the power of our cooperation, that university teachers, university researchers, people who are in academic, and cooperation with the practitioners, people who know how to help in general society to identify the need of support in that way. So we decide to analyze all the environments of human functioning. It sounds like all environment of human functioning, in general areas of human functioning. So the most of the time we spend at school or at work, and the family as our basic background. That's why the answers, maybe to satisfy some needs, can be found in our international project, Emotion Project, Promotion Project, and HS module, like a project who prepares specialists who will be the co-pilots, who will be helping others to understand properly. So what are the opportunities? What are the traits? First thing that we are dealing with is misunderstanding or inappropriate issue. For example, we sometimes understand high sensitivity only in one part of the same coin, like a risk factor, risk factor, future disorder, burnout, and so on. So
the knowledge about the high sensitivity at the level, for example, at recruitment and selection employee can be some kind of dangerous. So inappropriate prepared staff, people who know something but do not understand everything, incorrectly selected sources, like the first thing that if we want to know something about something new, we just Google it. So the first are the most popular ones, not only evidence-based. And preventing exclusion, supporting inclusion in a various sphere of life is one of our biggest goals. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Monica. Now we are going to listen our academic partner, University of Alicante.
Okay, right. Good morning, everyone. Well, first of all, I would like to thank the University of Economics and Innovation in Lublin. And I would like to thank all the partners that are here and are taking part of this project, because we are constructing a big family in order to make it to make high sensitivity more visible and to support these kind of topics to the society. So I would like to thank firstly, and well, the presentation that I'm going to conduct is about how managing high sensitivity and public health work context, because nowadays it's a challenge. But firstly, I would like to start by saying that sensory processing sensitivity, it's a personality trait. It is known as a personality trait, which is characterized by being more sensitive to the environment. And from a psychological framework, it is known as highly sensitive people present maybe a more reactive, a more emotional reactive to the environment, but not only from environmental ones, but also for internal stimuli. That they also present and also identified as having a deep kind of processing information processing, registering, and also a low sensory screening. From a physiological framework, they are identified as presenting an increased brain sensory activation when making fine visual distinctions. And also, sensory processing sensitivity is also manifested genetically, because there are some genes, which are related and linked with this personality trait. But sensory processing sensitivity has been studied in several fields, like education, like health. But what about work context? What about workers? What about employees? Because nowadays, at 20%, even the 30%, and even more of the society could present high levels of sensory processing sensitivity. So I think the importance of understanding, that's a good point and it's an interesting point, in order to improve the employees and employers and workers also the quality of life and well-being, and also the performance in workplaces, in enterprises. And maybe, because maybe the fluctuance of this personality trait, of this sensory processing sensitivity, could be manifested in different ways. And then it could have such a manifestation and how they are functioning in their work lives. I would like also to point out the role of sensory processing sensitivity in manifestation, because honestly, we are so interested in studying how sensory processing sensitivity or the several degrees of a manifestation of sensory processing sensitivity could be presented in this ways. Maybe sensory processing sensitivity could be manifested in work groups, like for example, how workers are managing some job demands, maybe how they are planning their performance, how they're communicating to other partners. And also, sensory processing sensitivity could also be manifested in the way of assistant people, because we are in health sections, we are in health work context. So what about nurses, what about doctors, what about psychologists who are also highly sensitive ones? Because it's not the same. It's not the same because as a therapist, as a highly sensitive one, maybe could understand all the people who are being assessed and who are also highly sensitive one. We can understand how they are registering, how they are receiving information, how they are understanding the environment. So it is so important in order to focus on the point of sensory processing sensitivity and to get to know more knowledge in order to understand the processes. But also, produce self-regulation is also an important point to focus on and to dedicate time to research and to support more materials, because according to the job's demands, maybe they can manifest emotional wants, emotional demands, and they need to know how to regulate and how to maybe how to manage these emotional demands. So it is so important to focus on it. And according to the environmental susceptibility approach, people who present high levels or high degrees of sensory processing sensitivity could react more to both positive and even negative stimuli. But what about if we apply this framework, with theoretical framework, to work context? Because we may expect that employees and workers could be extremely reactive to both negative and positive work characteristics or conditions. And that was the relevance of this topic. Well, I like this figure, I like this graphic, because I think that it explains perfectly what I'm trying to say, and the importance and the relevance to this topic in workplaces. I mean, previous research has been studying the mediator role of the sensory processing sensitivity, and that is that in enterprises and workplaces we can find job demands that includes workload and also emotional demands, and it would be interesting to focus our attention on how the sensitivity, the sensory processing sensitivity, could mediate between the job demands and the emotional demands. Because emotional exhaustion could be related to the compassion fatigue, which is one of the main strain dimension of the burnout. But also, sensory processing sensitivity, it appears that it is mediating between the job resources, and also the helping behavior, which is related, which is directly related to the compassion for satisfaction, which is related, it is linked with the quality of life and also a good quality of life and also well-being of workers. So, in order to explain it deeply, job demands that includes workload and emotional demands are those who are physical, psychological, social, and also organizational aspects of the job that require the maintenance of physical and psychological effort and skills, and are also associated with the physiological and psychological cost of humans who are working. And also job resources are those which includes task autonomy, social support, and are those who are physical, psychological, social, and also organizational aspects of the jobs that help to achieve the purposes and workplaces, the goals, and to reduce the job demands. And also, it is associated with physiological and also psychological cost, or stimulating personal growth, learning, personal development. And I would like also to explain in detail these other two terms, which are the emotional exhaustion and the helping behavior. Emotional exhaustion is considered, as I have said before, as a central of a strain dimension or domain of the burnout. And it is a typical outcome. It is a typical outcome in the literature on sensory processing sensitivity. And it seems like highly sensitive people tend to invest more mental effort and each that's due to the deeper mental register and deeper mental processing of the environmental information. But also, helping behavior, it is referred to the acts, which are interest, courtesy, peacekeeping, and also cheerleading. And they are influenced by motivational processes. And the fact I am explaining that is because highly sensitive people pick up emotions and subtleties faster, leading to greater empathy, and also acts of a helping behavior, also manifest helping behavior action. So we know that sensory, as the research study says, we know that sensory processing sensitivity could have a mediator role between employees' performance and their well-being. So it is not clear if it's a vulnerability factor or a supportive factor. So more about that. Well, several studies said and stated that there are three domains of the sensory processing sensitivity, which are the ease of excitation, low sensitive threshold, and aesthetic sensitivity. Ease of excitation is indicated to be easily overwhelmed by external, but also to internal demands. Low sensory threshold, it reflects the unpleasant sensory arousal to external stimuli, and also aesthetic sensitivity refers to the aesthetic awareness, being deeply moved by arts and also music. So which is the link of this with the workplace? Well, the studies said that ease of excitation and low sensory threshold could manifest and could present a positive relationship between job demands and also emotional exhaustion. So, in this way, could present a personal vulnerability factor because they may show stronger emotional and stress reactions to intense stimuli such as high job demands. But this is not also this. This is not only this, because low sensory threshold, it is positively related to the to job resources as a personal resources and also helping behavior. It is known that. And so it could be a supportive job to point it out in enterprises and to support in and to improve in workplaces. Because under optimal conditions, it could be a positive point of the sensory processing sensitivity. The greater awareness of subtleties and the social cues may then result in more pro-social behaviors in work groups and in order to help the others to reach their purposes in workplaces. But not only this, highly sensitive people in workplaces and in health workplaces may not be worried with processing sensory information and may fully respond to these supporting and enriched experiences. And then aesthetic sensitivity, which is another one of the three domains of the sensory processing sensitivity. It is related to a negative relationship with emotional exhaustion. So it is another good point for sensory processing sensitivity. So there's again that this is another reason to say that sensory processing sensitivity could be a supportive factor in workplaces because it is related also to helping with behavior. So in conclusion, I would like to say that sensory processing sensitivity could enhance our knowledge of its moderation role, and research could provide us more knowledge about the relationship between the sensory processing sensitivity, work characteristics, and also employees' health and well-being, and also their functioning and performances. And sensory processing sensitivity, as a personality, could have their dark side as a vulnerability factor, but also a bright side, because it could be a supportive factor one and a supportive resource for employers. Also, employees who are scoring higher levels of sensory processing sensitivity could react more negatively to job demands and more positively to job resources. So again, we have the dark side and the bright side of the sensory processing sensitivity. And what's more is with many job resources, highly sensitive people may feel more self-confidence and may feel resilient in their workplaces, in their work lives. So what I'm trying to say is that with this kind of projects, we can create more materials, create more programs, create more supportive guidance and guidelines in order to improve and in order to provide them how to deal with the high sensitivity in workplaces and instead in health workplaces. So thank you very much for your attention and go on with this work.
Thank you, Borja. Our next presentation will be presented by our colleague from Romania, representatives from Expert Association of Psychologists, and we will listen about the support of child in the context of Emotion Project.
Good morning, everyone. I also want to thank the university and our partners for the hard work that we have together and for the way that they involved in this project. Today I'm going to talk to you about the highly sensitive child and his family, and especially about models and methods of support of the highly sensitive child from the perspective of the child and also from the perspective of parents and family as main supporters for these children. So I'm going to start to tell you something about the state of science and state of art in Romania, because as I said in our first day in the project, we didn't have too many instruments 3 years ago to help and support the families and children. So now, although it is a new concept for parents and specialists in Romania, the benefits of the project are already measurable in. We have now assessment instruments and the checklist of traits that can orient the evaluation of the child. We have professional tools and intervention strategies for professionals, and I mean teachers and psychologists especially. And we also have scientific and public materials for people who need to know more about this trait, even if they are parents or belongers of highly sensitive child, or adults who are high sensitive, or the general population who needs to know more about this. But before this, the interpretation of highly sensitive traits in Romania inside families and school environment was one of the following. The child is too shy and he needs professional help, and through professional help I understand he needs a psychologist. He has a disorder or his nervous system doesn't function well, so he also needs help and a professional. He is too sensitive, so he needs extra protection or provocative situations to overcome his sensitivity, as it was something bad. Or he is weird or weak, so he often became victim of bullying in school environment. The new concept of hypersensitivity has created an openness and interest in understanding the way of highly sensitive functioning among parents, teachers, and also professionals, which increases the chances of a healthy integration for these children. What do we have now? We have assessment instruments, and we have a questionnaire of sensory processing sensitivity in children, which is designed to measure the personality trait of sensory processing sensitivity in children aged 3 to 10 years. It has 4 versions. 2 are for teachers and 2 are for parents, for kindergarten and for school. The questionnaire is composed of 4 domains, which examine the physical, the emotional, the interpersonal, and also the cognitive sphere. What about the parents of highly sensitive children? They often feel somehow lost because there is little understanding of this trait from society, school, or other parents. So they sometimes don't know how to respond to their child's specific behavior. Highly sensitive children tend to react more intensely to events than the average child, which can be a problem for the environment. They enjoy beautiful things to the full, but are also inconsolable or furious about things they don't like. The standard parenting methods doesn't seem to work, they don't seem to work with them. So a rebuke in a loud voice upsets them. A punishment can have a great impact on them for days. Usually the main focus in parenting highly sensitive child should be to sustain the prevention of the emotional and mental overwhelm, and also to give the highly sensitive brain the opportunity to process all the acquired stimuli at its own pace. So we can distinguish 3 styles of parenting, each one with their benefits or non-benefits: the authoritarian parenting style, the permissive or indulgent parenting style, and also the democratic parenting style. Well, it seems like the authoritarian and indulgent styles are seen as non-optimal parenting styles when it comes to the highly sensitive child, but I would say that not only with the highly sensitive child, because in the authoritarian style, children are more likely to develop low self-esteem and aggressive behavior, while children who are treated with permissive or indulgent parenting style, they are more likely to be impulsive and have poorer social skills. So it seems like the democratic style has a positive effect on children. When they become more socially competent, this style being characterized by listening to the needs of the child and responding to them. We have a method we can talk about. Esther Bergsma, a Dutch counselor who is specialized in high sensitivity, developed the BABA method, which means it has 4 stages. The first one is understand, then accept, limit, and offer alternatives. I believe that is a method that works with all the children, but it seems to be very effective in case of highly sensitive child. Understand means understand the background of one child behavior. So parents' understanding helps the child to get out of the complex feelings that are gripping him. Accept means that we should accept the child's feeling and that his feelings are there. The child can be angry or can have any kind of emotion. Only the way he or she expresses the emotions is wrong, but not the emotion itself. So this is available for us adults also. Limits, as all of us, the child needs to know what behavior is not acceptable. So setting boundaries makes every child feel safe, as every adult to feel safe. And offer alternatives, which means to discuss with the child what they can do next time when they feel angry or frustrated. The recommended methods of working with highly sensitive children, which are available for specialists or teachers or also for parents, they can be practiced also at home. So we need to know that sensitivity is typical of creative arts, innovators, and children who are talented in various ways. They have an exuberant and lavish inner life. They have inventive imaginations and they recall memories in great detail. Also, they notice more detail than the average people, and they are deeply moved by the arts and music. Highly sensitive child tend to be empathetic, intuitive, and highly aware of the needs of others. Advantages of using creativity in the development of highly sensitive child are developing the abilities to express desires and feelings, also verbal, but in a non-verbal way, self-respect and self-confidence, personal strategies for solving problems and intra- and interpersonal conflicts, improving the capacity for self-knowledge and self-acceptance, development of moral and spiritual values, development of cognitive abilities, and development of creativity, releasing tension, anxiety, stress, frustration, and negative feelings. We recommend a toolbox of methods that can be used in working with highly sensitive child. First of them, it's drawing and painting. Drawing is one of the key methods to help the child express his feelings, thoughts, moods, and sensorial experiences. Any type of free drawing is a way to explore and connect with what is happening within the child, and it is also a way to be more aware of one's identity as it develops itself. Any kind of modeling activities which puts the child in contact with the clay or any type of modeling material gives the chance to express through giving a shape, through putting the feelings and emotion in a certain shape and form. Therefore, clay and other modeling activities can and should be used as a form of self-expression and exploring thoughts and feelings of the highly sensitive child. This is a method that is very effective with most of the children and also with adults, like all art therapy methods. Collage. For this type of method, you would need old newspaper, magazines, scissors, glue, different types of fabric, of materials. Any light white material will do. The purpose of collage is to create an image, a painting with all these materials on a piece of paper or on a piece of canvas. It is a way to stimulate creativity, manual dexterity, space orientation, attention, and also communication. It's a way of communicating feelings and emotions and states of the self through an indirect language, through expressivity. Theater play helps with confusion and emotional pain when they are present. It helps the child to explore in a safe environment as it allows him to portray his own experience without the pressure of explaining rationally what is happening within. A lot of emotional states can be put in act through characters and through different techniques of theater. Dance and creative movement, any kind of body movement is very useful. Dance is a way of expressing the feelings, and it's a way of communicating that makes the child feel safe and reduces the anxiety. This technique can help the children to regain their own body and can lead to a better knowledge of their body and feeling comfortable in it. It puts the child in contact and acceptance with its own body, and it also can put him in contact with other people's bodies through movement, through body movement. The feelings that the child has in body and the way in which the body uses at rest and in the moving are the expression of its inner world. Puppets as a support for expressing. The puppet or the doll takes life because of the life of one who animates it. It's a projective technique in a projective identification of the object at origin. The doll or puppet can assimilate the value of the transactional object to create a relation with one another, an intermediate relation. Creating a puppet can be a real construction or reconstruction of the real self. We could so keep alive the inner child of each of us. And this is not reserved only for children. This is a good way of working also with adults on any categories of people. Fairy tales and therapy stories encompass a wide range of emotion: love, hate, loneliness, isolation, worthlessness, anger, and so on, and are often used in child therapy as they are a way to help the child find meaning and dispel confusion. Every child will take something different from a story, and they feel protected while listening or making up a story, as they are not the protagonist, therefore nothing can happen to them. They also can shape the experience in new ways and learn new ways of responding or new ways of receiving experiences. They, through fairy tales and therapy stories, they can gain control or have a feeling of gaining control of the experiences they live. And also games, and we can have a large number of games that can be played. For a child, it's easier to speak through a puppet voice, a doll, a car, or a toy soldier than to say directly what he feels, that it seems to him hard to express. So games are still the main ways to communicate with a child, with any kind of child, and sometimes game can be an effective way to communicate with an adult. Too technical, too sophisticated toys or too many toys can affect and limit the child's capacity to play, to create, to destroy the game. The excess of toys also is not a good idea because it isolates the child from the external world. So a convenient number of toys that can only intermediate the experience and the communication should be enough. Enriching the game with objects used in surprising ways, regardless of whether it is an individual play, in the dyads or in a group, beyond its techniques, creativity, the game is for children source and resources of energy. It is considered that the game can even be a form of self-therapy
whereby the child often works on his confusions, anxieties, and conflicts. These are only few methods that can be used in approaching a psychotherapeutical approach of highly sensitive child. Of course, the possibilities are large, but art therapies are a good idea from my point of view in working with and arts in general, creating objects in general, and they can be used by professionals, but also by teachers, by parents who want to help their children expressing. So their resources are unlimited. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Gabriela. Our next presentation would be about the challenges of the employee management and will be presented by our new colleagues from Norway.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure for me to be here and to talk about highly sensitivity in Norway. In Norway, we are just 5 million people living there, and 1 million approximately are highly sensitive. And about 3 million are working people or in the workforce, and that's from the age of 18 years old until 66. I have been contacting the Norwegian Working Environment Act several times during the last years, but I never put anything about HS or highly sensitive people, and still it's nothing there. So we have to work with this. Working environment among employees in the age of 18 and 66 in Norway. We had to see in 2019 because of the COVID. And then it was research, and then 88% was satisfied about the work. Although about 32% had a bad experience about the environment. And we know that highly sensitive people can be more sensitive about the environment than normal sensitive people. So maybe it's a bigger group because they also asked people who were sick leave said that because they were sick leave because of the environment. So maybe it is quite more of them that are highly sensitive. In 2021, high sensitivity at work, because of the COVID-19, it has been changing a lot in Norway and in the rest of the world. And then the companies and the organization, they start to see new solutions. And we see it's changing, and they are more positive to change, and they are more positive to be more flexible, and they also see that it's possible to have home office, although they don't need it more because of the COVID-19, but still they can be at the home at least 2 or 3 days every week, and they can change a bit the time, working time. In Norway, for a few years ago, it was the idle person they want in the work, in the organization, the strong one, the one that was quite loud one, always the speaking one, and not the quiet one. But that is also changing. Today, they see they need the difference of the people, all kind of people. And together, this all kind of people, and also high sensitivity, they need them in the companies and in the organization to make it better and to be a bigger and work better together, be stronger. The knowledge and facts about high sensitivity. Then I talk about the high sensitivity Norway, the organization which I head. So we have lectures and we have courses, both online and public. And we also have been having conferences about highly sensitivity at work. And we try to tell about the knowledge, to get it out, to let people know about the facts and how to deal with highly sensitive people. We go out to groups working with people. That's in the health organization, teachers, and so on. And also in the companies and organizations. And an important group, the parents. We try to get the knowledge about highly sensitivity out to most all the groups in Norway. And we also have podcasts, and we have brochures and books telling for different groups or just ordinary knowledge. For many years, it has been articles in magazines and newspapers, and a lot of them in Norway for many years ago was telling a bit that the highly sensitive person was a kind of weak person, you have to take care of them. But it's changing. It's where many people are writing, and also I've been writing a lot of articles too. And you see, we got it in the mental health, the magazine for the leaders, for the health, safety, and environment, kindergarten, for the doctors, and for the education, for the teachers. So we got it more open, more people are understanding it, and see that this is an important about the highly sensitivity. And we also, in the organization Highly Sensitive Norway, we have been collaborated with students or master degree who have been having HSP in school. And then we have been communicated with the high sensitive to the teachers and to the parents. And we have been telling about how to understand and facilitate the children in school to let them know not be overstimulated or understimulated. It depends what kind of highly sensitive they are. And in one school, they have been working with this to avoid overstimulation in the classroom. And they have been very seen about the classroom environment, how it is, what they can do. And they also have an agreement with the student that are highly sensitive, that they, without anyone else in the classroom knows, that they just do a sign to the teacher, and then they tell, I'm going to be overstimulated. I need some more rest. This is too much for me. And they also, before new activities, they let the students who want to, and highly sensitive students, just to look at it. Look at what the other ones are doing, just thinking, just feeling, and then when they're ready, they try. But they also push a bit, but also see and let them come and be in it when they are ready. They also have a quiet area at that school. When the child needs more quiet, it's allowed to go to the quiet area. But before this, they have agreement with the student and with the parents, so they all know what's happening. We still have quite a long way to go in Norway. I can hear that some of you in your country are a bit before us and in front of us. We started about in 2009 to work about highly sensitivity and talk about it. And then a lot of people was just laughing, didn't respect us, and so on. For a few years ago, we started the organization Highly Sensitive Norway, where we got a lot of people working with highly sensitive children, adults, work, and so on. And today, I'm proud because I can hear a lot of people coming both to me or just talking, I'm highly sensitive. Or they got a child, my child is highly sensitive. And that they are proud of it. But still, we have a long way to go. And that's especially with the health service in Norway, and the school system, and the companies and the organization. but we will work for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for so interesting presentation. And last but not least, we welcome our colleague from Portugal. And the topic of our final presentation would be challenges of labor market and high sensitivity.
Hello, everyone here and everyone who is watching us online. My name is Pedro Casal. I represent the Portuguese Association of Startups. It is very pleasant to be here and to be a part of this event. And me and João, the representative of this project in Portugal, we have no words for the amount of knowledge we have been gathering since we became a partner of this great, expertized and hardworking consortium. Well, and since APSU plays a role of being an association who has a lot of cooperation with employers' organizations, my presentation will be as our role in this project, so it will be very practical and brief. Talking about the state of the art of high sensitivity in Portugal, even though this topic affects 20% of the Portuguese workforce, no relevant research has been conducted in the country, unfortunately. However, and as far as we are concerned, the scientific community, so psychologists and health specialists, are concerned about the topic, and they understand the importance of this subject and its need to be applied in the country. The most relevant international works in this field are being translated into Portuguese, however, at a very, very, very slow pace. For example, our Bible, the book by Elaine and Aaron, Sensitivity People, was only translated this year, in April this year, and it was issued some years ago. Well, this means that we need to further study this subject, not only in Portugal, but Europe-wide. And for that to happen, we must, as a group, we must ensure a common effort among health professionals, as you are, some of you, human resources experts, labor agencies, employers, public bodies, political parties, and so on, so on, so on. The list is very long. Since I work for the Portuguese Association of Startups, our daily routine at the office embraces a lot of responsibilities since we offer career guidance and consulting services to young entrepreneurs who will hopefully become leaders in the future and active players in a local or hopefully national economic scenario. Therefore, we, as an association, strive to fight for this purpose. We will try to provide innovative solutions in terms of professional career management for people with high sensitivity locally, and do our best to raise awareness on this topic nationally as well through some efforts on dissemination, being inclusive and unifying. I told you this would be really, really brief, but we are very willing to help you to do a great job and bring this topic to all the countries, not only in Portugal and the countries represented on this consortium. Thank you very much. And if you have any question, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that this is the moment that we can start an open discussion. We asked people online about their question, but if you don't mind, I will start. We talk a bit about the highly sensitive people in the workplace, the quality of life, having in mind the environment in the workplace. But when we start, I start conversating with each specialist. They said at the level of recruiting and selecting, that's might not be a good idea to identify highly sensitive people. Because, for example, one lady said, my boss, if he will recognize the highly sensitive person, he will not hire him or her for sure because of being less stress resilient or being less, his point of view is when I start yelling on this employee, he will be, stop working and so on. So that's the very narrow thinking. What do you think about it?
Well, I think that we should start by raising awareness with the employers for them to be more receptive to this kind of people, of condition. And for that to happen, we must inform them. And how can we do that? This is one of our missions through the promotion project, to raise awareness between employers and labor market agencies. Because if a person, if one says that in an interview, in a job interview, that he is sensitive, I don't believe that it would be a problem. Not everywhere. I guess that an understanding person, an understanding employer, would be happy to work with the people, with a person with this condition, as long as he or she is a good worker. So I don't think that will be an issue for employers to hire anyone because of this condition. I think that we must offer innovative solutions for employers in order to deal with these workers, to provide them the best working environment possible. But I don't think, honestly, that this will be an issue, this condition. Thank you.
I think actually it's a bit different in Norway, because if they say they are highly sensitive, some things is stopping in a lot of the companies or organizations. They say, no, you are not the perfect for the job. You will be too sensitive, too stressed, and so on. So we have learned a lot of people to talk more about what their needs are without saying, but saying in a positive way, and be up and proud of themselves, but don't tell it if they don't feel it.
I totally agree that sometimes it is like we are not introducing ourselves like I'm an extrovert, so maybe that's not necessary to introducing as a highly sensitive.
I think it also has to do with the culture of the country we are talking about. Because, for example, in Romania, we have this culture of being assertive or somehow aggressive in a manner, not in a bad manner, but traits like being too sensitive or reacting to harsh stuff or harsh approaches are not considered in a good manner. So if we are talk about a country that has a culture in supporting this trait and giving people the right to be as they are without judging a certain trait, okay, so these employees have more chances on the labor market. But in a country that somehow encourages another kind of trait from the area of not being too sensitive, maybe it would be a problem. So the solution is, as my colleague said, to give access to the information so far so that this trait will not be, I don't know, considered something bad or something. Yes, it's a trait, and we should treat people as they are.
That's true. Also, there are research showing that self-esteem is different, depends on the self-esteem of highly sensitive people, depends on the culture, like, supporting some kind of ideal man.
Yeah, Well, I absolutely agree with all of you. And you have said before, in the beginning, I have no idea what sensory processing sensitivity is, what to assess it, want to identify what to how to identify it, as neither, as neither. So I think that we are in progress. We are on the way to accurate the characteristics and the features of sensory processing sensitivity, and we are reaching it. We are getting it because we are providing materials, and we are providing books. We are providing materials for education context, for health context, and we are visualizing to the society what sensory processing is now. And that's why I said before that it's a present challenge, but also a future challenge. And as you have said before, people sometimes say he or she is a shy person, but it's not like this. It's not about shyness. It's about yes, yes, yes. Of course. So, but what I'm trying to say is that um, we have to point out the accuracy of the terminology, of the conceptualization of what sensory processing sensitivity is, in order to provide to the society. So we are dealing with it. We are providing assessment tools, and we are on the way of of it. And also, I totally agree that there are a cultural variety of characteristics, and I agree that maybe we are trying to get to know what sensory processing sensitivity is, but what sensory processing sensitivity is in Norway, what is in Romania, what is in Portugal, what is in Spain, and so yes, that's a challenge.
Even we, as the experts, said those people. So
And although in one country we are all different, the highly sensitive people, so in a job we are different. Someone are really shy in a way, and other one are really extroverts and so on. So to say you're highly sensitive, it can have a really big difference.
yeah, that's very important point, that there is diversity instead of being sensitive to the environment, different environment, and so on. One of the question was people were curious about those trainings, workshops. Are they a part of the private practice more, or in your country there are? You said about the association, but are they more like who are taking care of that, or they are private practices, or they are specialists who are, have own web page and you can find them as a expert in, or someone who is focused on high sensitivity?
In our country, we organize this kind of workshops during our project as part of association activities, and we are involved in it as private practitioners. So it's both ways. It works both ways. And in Romania, we intend to organize these kind of workshops for students, for specialists, inside the association, where we are private practitioners, psychologists and psychotherapists. So it will be open access. We will announce on the Facebook page and through the page of the project, and specialists from Romania will be able to participate, but we also intend to organize workshops for teachers and also for parents. We'll have the agenda, I don't know, in 1 month, and we'll announce these workshops. So people will be able to attend.
In Norway too, we are private practitioners in the organization, and someone are outside the organization. We want to have it in different kind of sector as the health services, special teachers and so on, and we try to get it in, but still is the private and the organization.
Yeah, well, in Spain, about the practices we are dealing with in Spain, in our country, are focusing on the health sections and also in education area. Well, in the case of health area, um, many people come to us in order to uh, ask us for where I am, where are us, because as you know, some some articles and some research have said before that there was a sensory disorder, but it's not now. It's not sensory processing sensitivity. It's not a disorder. So what we're trying to do in health and educational context is to work the awareness of what sensory processing sensitivity is versus the modulation disorder of the sensitivity. So we are applying programs in educational and education sections for teachers in order to dealing with people who are or children who are highly sensitive, and also in health section we are trying to separate the thinking of it is a disorder because it's not a disorder, and that's what are we trying to do here in our country. But of course, there are many areas that we have to deal with it.
So we all agree that the proved knowledge is very important at the very beginning. Yeah, to not be confused with other terms that are used, for example, to identify some disorders, because that would be not good for anyone, not be diagnosed or be misdiagnosed. Okay. What do you think about the need to prepare specialists in area of high sensitivity? So we start one of the project about high sensitivity module for students. What kind of knowledge will be necessary to prepare psychologists, pedagogists, future nurses, future doctors? Is it something must have or optional?
I will speak from the point of view of the psychologist. So, from my point of view, in Romania, there are necessary this kind of information and training programs for psychologists and psychotherapists. And this is what we intend to do through our association, who has as a main purpose organizing this kind of trainings for specialists, because our professionals need to have knowledges and the toolbox, starting from the assessment, identification of the trait, correct identification of the trait, and continuing with appropriate and good strategies, good practices in working with the highly sensitive child and highly sensitive adult, and plus supporting the families of highly sensitive child, because sometimes even I receive requests from parents of a highly sensitive child to help the child to become someone else, to develop opposite traits than he or she has. And this is, I don't know, a very provocative step that I have with families to explain that there is no necessary to transform the child into who he isn't, but rather to accept and embrace the child as it is, because I believe that we all are sensitive in a certain degree if we allow ourselves to have access to ourselves. So, yes, there is a great need, at least in Romania.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it's so interesting. And about the preparation for a specialist, I think it's so important, so relevant, because as I have said, and related to the promotion project, um, at workplaces, it's very important to coordinate work groups to managing highly sensitive workers, maybe in your groups, in your work groups, in your enterprises or something like that, and also, um, for example, what about highly sensitive therapists? As I have said before, maybe if we try to identify high sensitivity in ourselves or in people's selves. Maybe as other authors like Acevedo, Aaron, or something like that said, the highly sensitive therapists could understand even more what a sensory processing sensitivity is, because they can more understand um, maybe the cognitive and emotional processes of high sensitivity, and they can also understand what are they registering in the environment, and make them aware of it.
Yes, I also would like to add that in Poland, the first step for us is stop saying too sensitive. Sensitive, adequate to this kind of nervous system.
I think that we need all the groups. It starts with the children, and if the children are not respected in the way they are in the childhood, the problem is coming later on. But all the way, we need people in this group that know about highly sensitivity in all the way.
Absolutely agree. So when we start thinking, normalizing knowledge about the high sensitivity, not labeling children in minority, different one, difficult one, stop trying to change them, because sometimes the expectation of teacher is to take highly sensitive child, do something with, and give back to the class. Now we are working with the whole environment, we're working with the whole class, with the whole kindergarten groups, and work environment also. Okay, would you like to add something important that we didn't point it out, should be highlighted? Mm-hmm.
Well, according to the Portuguese example, and as far as I'm concerned, the vast majority of the companies, at least in Portugal, uh, they don't really care about the mental health of their workers. And when they do, they don't have specialists working on this area in the companies. They just outsource these people. So I guess that the very first step, the baby step for developing our subject, is to make sure that not only the Portuguese employers but all the European employers raise awareness for the importance of paying attention to the mental health of the workers. They just, at least in Portugal, they just leave that subject for the workers to deal on their own. Okay, you come to work, you leave your problems outside the building. Unfortunately, that's the truth, and I hope that if we can take this step of raising their awareness for the mental health, we are already winning with the project. That's it.
Yes, that was very good to point out that the person is a whole. That's nothing less possible than staying personal life out of the work. Gabriela, would you like to add something?
Yes, I would like to add that maybe we as parents, especially as teacher or population in general, maybe we could start to accept people as they are, as people. And it's like when I talk to the parents and they tell me how should I change their children or their child, and I ask, okay, I understand. What if you wouldn't have this standard? I don't know from where, from your childhood or the culture, of course. What if it wouldn't exist? what would you tell me about your child? How is he? I mean, compared to nothing. How would you be if you would be curious about your child? Encourage his resources instead of saying what is wrong and what should be improved, you know, in a different way. That's all from me. Thank you.
So we're going through the humanistic environment, the way how to support, like accepting and empathy and being authentic, just believing what you feel when you feel it. Okay. So we are in a point when, after normalizing the knowledge about high sensitivity, we will try to help the other people be more sensitive of our differences. So thank you very much. Thank you for giving this huge impact on mental health, on supporting the resilience, no matter what kind of personal or temperamental trait a person have. And thank you for the opportunity to meet here in Lublin and sharing your experience. Thank you very much.